All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we're jumping into a topic that, let's be honest, gets to all of us, criticism. We're going to talk about how to build a kind of psychological armor, a way to turn what feels like an attack into an unbreakable source of strength.
So, to start, I want you to do something for me. Just pause for a second and really think. What's the most hurtful, most stinging piece of criticism you've ever gotten? You know the one. The words that just burrowed under your skin and stayed there. You got it? Okay, hold on to that feeling because we are about to completely flip it on its head.
Now look at that memory one more time, but look at it through this new lens. See, those words that hurt you, they weren't actually about you at all. They were a confession from the person who said them. Think about it. Words are just noise until we decide to give them power. The most important thing to realize is that we get to choose whether we accept them or not.
So to really get this, we've got to dive into a really cool psychological idea called projection. This comes from the legendary Carl Jung, and the core idea is pretty wild. What we lash out at in other people is often just a reflection of something we can't stand inside ourselves.
Jung called this shadow projection. Now, that might sound a little academic, but the idea is actually super simple. We all have parts of ourselves we don't really like, right? Or parts we don't even admit we have. That's our shadow. And when someone criticizes you, a lot of the time they're just taking their own shadow, their own fears, their own flaws, and, well, they're dumping it onto you.
And this is how that attack suddenly becomes a confession. So, when someone points their finger at you and says, "You're so inadequate," what they're often screaming is, "I am terrified of being inadequate myself." Or, when they call you lazy, it might be because they're secretly fighting their own desire to just stop, and they resent seeing that freedom in you. It's their battle, not yours.
Jung really hit the nail on the head here. Whatever irritates that person about you is basically a roadmap to their own inner turmoil. And once you truly understand that, their words just lose their power. The criticism isn't an attack anymore, it just becomes interesting data.
Okay, so let's shift from psychology to a timeless story that just beautifully shows how to put this all into practice. It's a famous encounter with Buddha, and it holds the absolute key to your emotional freedom. So the story goes, a man shows up and just starts screaming insults at Buddha for a whole morning. And Buddha just listens, calmly, patiently. When the guy finally wears himself out, Buddha looks at him and asks this very simple question. The man was probably a little confused, but he gives the only logical answer there is, right? If you try to give me a gift and I say no thanks, well, you're still holding the gift. It belongs to you. Simple.
And boom, there it is. Buddha treated all that anger, all those insults, exactly like an unwanted gift. By simply refusing to accept it, by not reacting, he left all that negativity exactly where it belonged, with the person who brought it. The criticism had zero power because he never consented to receive it.
So that's great philosophy. But how do we actually use this stuff when we're in the thick of it? Let's get practical with a tool you can use anytime, anywhere. I like to call it the 3-sieve technique. Think of it like a quick mental checklist for filtering any criticism that comes your way. Okay, here's how it works. When criticism hits, you run it through these 3 filters. First, the truth sieve. You ask yourself, okay, setting aside the nasty delivery, is there any kernel of truth in here I can actually use to get better? If there is, great, take that tiny piece and throw the rest of the emotional garbage away. Second, the source sieve. Ask, is this person someone whose opinion I genuinely respect? Is their character something I admire? If the answer is no, then their words have no real authority over you. And finally, the ego sieve. Ask yourself, what part of me is actually hurting right now? 9 times out of 10, it's just your ego. And here's the thing, your ego can get bruised, it'll heal. But your true self, your soul, it's always whole. It remains untouched. When you start to really practice these mindsets, seeing criticism as projection, treating it like a gift you can refuse, and filtering it through those sieves, you start to build something incredible. You develop the quality of being, well, unshakable. This quote from Eleanor Roosevelt just says it all, doesn't it? Real power isn't about building walls so no one can criticize you. It's about realizing that you and only you are in control of your emotional state. You have the power of consent.
You see, an unshakable mind can't be manipulated. If praise doesn't make you float, then blame can't make you sink. You start to see criticism as just a neutral event, like a car alarm going off down the street. It's just noise. And by not reacting, you actually force the critic to sit with their own negativity. The ancient Stoics had a word for this ultimate goal, ataraxia. It means a state of total inner calm, a peace of mind that the chaos of the outside world simply cannot disturb.
So here's the final takeaway. When you build this inner fortress, this unshakable core, the weapons people try to use against you, insults, blame, criticism, they just stop working. They literally rust in their hands. The ultimate power isn't about fighting back. It's about becoming the rock that the waves of criticism just break against over and over, leaving you completely unmoved.